All right, good afternoon, everybody. Can everybody hear me in the back okay? Excellent. All right, welcome and thank you for coming to this presentation, Winning and Keeping Sponsorships. Just a brief introduction on myself. My name is James Barrie. Despite my accent, actually born in London, left London when I was just a baby to the Caribbean. My father's West Indian, Antigua. And I've been in the US for the last 20 years. I ran a drop zone called Skydive Carolina for about 9 of those years. And in the last 4 years, started up a marketing agency called Beyond Marketing, where we work with really drop zones from all over the world to help with their marketing, as well as some of the major manufacturers. And what I learned in working with manufacturers is when we're putting together web design, our main thing is a website is only as good as the photography on it. And we started learning that not just from one manufacturer, but from many, getting photography from them was really, really difficult, despite them all having lots of sponsored athletes. I thought, wow, what's the disconnect here? Like, I would imagine that that would be the easiest part of developing a website for these folks, is obviously getting lots of photography from the videographers that are shooting video from all these teams. So there was definitely a disconnect, and the more I started asking around, the more I started learning that this was a sort of a big problem throughout the industry, which I also thought, well, if we can learn all the pain points from manufacturers, and I can provide that information to you, and you're wishing to get sponsorship, then you certainly will get a leg up in terms of how to make a presentation to these manufacturers. I'd like to get a survey of the room. How many in here, by show of hands, have no sponsorship of any kind but would like to get sponsorship? Okay, decent size. How many in this room have some level of sponsorship at all? Okay. And how many in this room would have what I'd classify as sort of full sponsorship, where you've gotten, it's not a discount, but full-on gear? So the numbers start to wane as we go. So first thing you'll note is, depending on certainly your experience level, you don't want to go for the jugular and necessarily asking for a full free complement of stuff. Obviously you need to build a resume towards that. Sort of the median is going to be some level of discount on your gear. But what I'd like to do is start with the pain points. What is it that is troubling or bothering these manufacturers? In preparation for today, I reached out to about 8 major manufacturers and asked them, tell me, what are you struggling with your sponsorship programs? And some of the results kind of surprised me. All right. First pain point. Too casual. Informal with the approach. How do you get creative with some of the photographs or designs? So one of the worst things that I've learned to do, and here's the thing, is our sport's super casual, right? And it's definitely all about friendships and relationships, but one of the worst things you can do, let's say to boogie, is roll up to somebody or a vendor and say, what do I need to do to get sponsorship? That's mistake number one. And I didn't think that would be such a big issue until it was put to me in such blunt terms. Here's a quote from an actual major sponsor. Never ask the question, what do I have to do to get sponsorship? Don't ask that ever. Now, that was in all caps in the email. Not even as a joke, because you think the sponsorship rep is your buddy. They are not your buddy when it comes to sponsorship. Unfortunately, there are a few people who are not sponsored by X company because they didn't differentiate between friends and business. Understand that when you get into sponsorship, this is a business relationship. Too often, I think that we're thinking that that means you're getting free stuff. And the reality is you're not. You're going to have to work, certainly in kind is the expectation for what you're being given. I've spoken with some photographers who say that it would be really better off for them to just pay for their gear and sell the photography back to the manufacturers or the people at any given event versus really losing out on giving all that photography for free. So I think first and foremost is recognize you're entering into a business relationship. This is not about getting a bunch of free stuff. By the way, for my sponsored athletes in here, if there's a point that I've mentioned, especially from this row up here, that you'd like to add on, and let me ask real quick, are there any manufacturer representatives in the room? I know we've got a couple of former ones. But feel free to jump in, or if you've got questions as we go, ask away. All right, point number 2, no follow-through. All right, careful what you offer, because when they come calling, you better be responding. Very poor follow-through. Here's a quote from another manufacturer. Often once the skydiver gets their, quote, free shit, it is nearly impossible to get anything in return. They feel they deserve the free shit just because they are hot shit. I feel a little tension in that quote. And I keep glancing to make sure that I didn't accidentally put the name of the manufacturer. Serious paranoia issues going here. So on that idea is make sure that whatever you promise, you deliver. Okay? Definitely be very responsive. Expectations not in line with reality. So that again, you got to weigh, like have some self-awareness of where you stand in your resume. Okay, don't go for the jugular in asking for it all. Certainly talk to other sponsored athletes maybe of your level or a little bit higher and find out what their experience is. You cannot, it's okay, you cannot over-research this. Talk to people that have done it and find out how they did it, but certainly find out what level of sponsorship so you're not going in blind. Many, if not most, skydivers mistake the parachute industry for other mainstream consumer product markets. The marketing budget for sponsorships is not quite like Red Bull. That might be an understatement for sure. Okay. Overassessment of return on investment. This is a big one. How many of you think that, or what's your thought in terms of the return on investment of a major manufacturer sponsoring somebody? Anybody? I think that might be high in a lot of cases, depending on. Many sponsored athletes don't put enough thought into actual ROI. If we sponsor a team with $20,000 worth of equipment, the mentality should be they'll generate at least that much in sales. The expectation here is nearly dollar for dollar. I've heard another manufacturer mention that, hey, if we give away one canopy, I sure would like to get at least 10 in return. So this really goes back to you're entering a true business relationship. Well, let me ask you an honest question here. How many of you are influenced by what you buy based on who is sponsored? I would see that if you have a personal relationship with that sponsored athlete and you can get all the information. But how many of you, let me ask, when you see an ad in a magazine of a top team that's sponsored, does that affect who you're going to purchase from, maybe by a show of hands? Okay. So 1% of the room will follow that. So you got to think, what's the ROI? Why should they sponsor you? When you go in to make a proposal, you've got to be thinking dollars, not because you've got this level of achievement. Now these guys are a classy bunch. Arizona Airspeed, very well endorsed. Probably one of the most sponsored set of athletes we've got in this sport. Had I not shown the picture, if I asked you, can you guys list off who all of the sponsored athletes are for Arizona Airspeed, one of the most well-known teams in the world? I bet very few of you would be able to identify all of their sponsors. Let's take Hayabusa for a moment. Do you know who all their sponsors are? I'm going to say something that's a little bit poignant here. How many people in this room believe that skydivers pay attention to competition skydiving? I'm going to tell you very few. Usually competition skydivers pay attention to competition skydiving. But your general fun jumpers that are your weekend warriors in and out to the drop zone, I don't mean to sound harsh or crass, but truly, they really don't give a shit. That's the true reality. So have some self-awareness that if you have major accomplishments, that doesn't mean that you deserve sponsorship. Your trick is to make sure that you turn your achievements into ROI for the customer, knowing, or for the manufacturer, knowing that most people are not paying attention to the top athletes in our sport, other than the other athletes who are competing against them themselves. Pain point, lack of understanding that you are an extension of the company. Once you are wearing the logo, you're, in a sense of a word, you are representing that company. You're almost like an employee. So you need to make sure that you know your stuff about the product that you're representing and all the other details that go along with that. More than once, we've been surprised to hear of our own sponsored athletes verbally trashing our gear. That is amazing in terms of if they're having hard openings, maybe on a canopy, containers not fitting quite right. Like, that is the cardinal rule. Don't ever trash your sponsor. Seems like that we shouldn't even have to mention that in this session, but it happens way more often than you might imagine. Another major pain point for the manufacturers is it's high risk and expensive to sponsor, especially teams. Think for a moment that if you're, and this happens all the time with the presentations to the vendors, is, hey, we're a 4-way team, we're going to do X amount of 100 jumps, training jumps in year 1, and then in year 2 we're going to do this many, and we're going to do this much for you, and then 6 months into season 1, a teammate leaves. And the manufacturer is just given 4 rigs for those 4 individuals. And then to add insult to injury, the rig that was given to that 4th member that's left the team is now selling it. That's a risky thing when you're talking that much money of an investment, even or at a very high discount as well. Oh, here's a big one, shopping for best price. Careful how you make your presentations to the vendors. If they know that you're sending that same email to all the other manufacturers, that's not going to go well. They're looking for brand ambassadors, not for somebody that can try and score the best deal. Quote, shopping for the best price will always result in no sponsorship at all, unquote. He goes on. There is a difference between approaching more than one manufacturer professionally and honestly, and simply hunting for a great price on gear. Yet so many potential athletes create a blanket presentation and send it to several manufacturers. Some even send it to one email, and even worse, some have done that without putting the recipients in the blind carbon copy line. Instead, athletes who are only hunting for the best price should approach dealers. They should ask about the possibility of a deeper than normal discount off the list price based on a 3 to 5 rig purchase. So think about your presentation, guys. Understand that everybody wants the free stuff. But you got to figure out how to stand out from the rest. And these pain points be the antithesis of what they are. Not knowing the product. You need to know every element of the product that you're asking for. Again, you are a brand representative. Not only know that product, but know the differences of that product to everything else available in the market. Because you are also now a salesperson. You should be a salesperson because you're now working to create positive ROI for your sponsor. Let's talk about the pain points for you all. Because there's no real published book for this. Not knowing how to execute well, you need to really think about how you're going to execute what you're promising. If you are not a full-time professional skydiver, you are balancing and juggling a lot of things. So think about, before you make an offer, that you can deliver what it is that you're saying you're going to do. So not knowing how to execute, not enough time to execute because you are juggling so many things, and over-promising and under-delivering as opposed to the other way around. So, Let's talk about how to gain these sponsorships now that you know the pain points. Before I move forward, any thoughts? All right. Step 1, solve all the pain points listed. Be the antithesis of everything that's been presented there. You know what the frustrations are. Don't follow in the footsteps of what everybody else is doing. Okay? I love this phrase. This is my marketing mind at work. Mediocrity opens up opportunity. My background was in the golf industry before I got into the skydiving industry. And in golf, which has been around for, I don't know, 200-300 odd years, it's all been done. In skydiving, we're still growing, we're still changing, there's still so much to be done, there's so much opportunity to shine ahead of somebody else. And that is enhanced by the fact that there's so much mediocrity in our sport. There's a lot of sponsored athletes getting away with doing nothing. Pay attention to that. Note the pain points. Pay attention to those that are doing things really well also. But mediocrity opens up opportunity, so you can be advanced a little bit more. So solve these issues. Create a formal presentation. I mean, real formal. Explain how you intend to generate positive ROI and listing all you will do for the company. You only have one chance to make a great first impression. Kill that formal presentation. Be really detail-oriented. I would advise not emailing your presentation. Mail it. I would advise that everything about it be on a 5-star level, even down to the quality of the paper, the layout, everything. You want to have a real wow factor when they receive your stuff. Have your bio profiles. I'm amazed by how difficult it is to receive, like when we're doing sponsorship athlete pages for some of these manufacturers, can't get any bios. And they're sending out to, hey, send us your bio, please. Give us an update where you're at. We're doing a new website. Zero. Multiple emails to these athletes. It's mind-blowing. So I'm looking at this going, this is a great opportunity. Like, there's so many people that are sleeping at the wheel here. If you just do some basics and also exceed some expectations, you can really rise ahead. Do what you say you'll do. I think I've said that more than once. And then over-deliver. I think that's the real trick. Is figure out what exactly you're going to do for them and then surprise them by giving them even more than you said that you would do. But I don't know if you're starting to notice, this is starting to sound like work. It is work. You're working for what you've been given. Reduce risk wherever possible. So an example of that is, and this is one for 4-way teams, if you're asking for full sponsorship or some kind of sponsorship, make sure that you're differentiating between getting a sponsorship for the individual versus a sponsorship for the team. If a team member leaves, he should not be able to, or she should not be able to leave with a rig or whatever piece of sponsored equipment that you have. That belongs to the team. That also reduces the risk for the manufacturer, where now you've got a rig, you've got a new player that comes in on the team, and rather than going, oh, we got a new player, can we get another rig? Upsetting the manufacturer, you can say, hey, we got a new player, can you readjust the harness size on this rig, on the rig that you gave us to fit for this individual? Reduce that risk for the manufacturer. Have a great attitude always, everywhere. No one likes a sky god. I mentioned earlier that if you're a world champion, I couldn't care less. I know the manufacturers couldn't care less. I ran a sizable boogie several years ago, and our prerequisite for the load organizers that we used is never about what was on your resume, always about the person. I think if you take away one point from this presentation is this: your attitude will win out way beyond your experience level. I spoke to a manufacturer on the phone just the other day, and he said, look, we have given a lot to some people that a lot of people don't know about, but because their attitudes were so dynamic and their personalities just so gregarious, that we gave them more than we normally would. Understand that there are set guidelines with these manufacturers, but they can be bent if they see the right person with the right attitude and the right potential. So bear that in mind. But no room for sky gods, especially in this game. Step 2, figure out how to exceed expectations. You know the pain points. Let's go a step above. Look around and see what the best are doing. Ask sponsors who they love and why. Then be better than that. Lately, has anybody seen the stuff coming out by Cyprus with their sponsored athletes? With the wingsuit Cyprus? I've got a video at the end I'll share with you. Really good stuff. That to me should be the minimum benchmark. But the difference would be I would want you to produce what they're doing versus being asked to produce it. Now you're starting to get the attention of a lot of people. Step 3, view yourself as an extension of the company. Kind of touched on that a little bit in the pain points. Your presentation and style. When you go to the drop zone, and I've seen this especially with four-way teams, if you've got like 4 sponsors, one might wear one sponsor and the other might wear, I would say be unified to really get that brand out there for who you're representing, but also dress professionally. We've got to change the tide of the culture in skydiving a little bit in terms of the professionalism. I was talking to the DZOs yesterday and I'm just amazed by the fact that we will collect usually about 200 pounds or more for a tandem skydive, and sometimes instructors look like they just rolled out of bed. Now, if you or I were to spend 200 pounds on anything, we would expect more than often our industry would give. It's no different, certainly when you're in the business relationship of working with manufacturers, that you really are now a sponsored athlete. You're a pro athlete in some degree. Definitely follow that. Know the history of the company. If you're repping PD, know who started it. Same with Cyprus and all the other manufacturers. Know the history of who is repping you. So that if you're in an event or a boogie and you get into some conversation, you've got a story to tell. Let me say from a marketing standpoint, storytelling sells. So know the story. It's beyond just the facts. Know the story of PD's R&D and what goes on behind that. Know the product inside and out and the differences to others. Mentioned that earlier. Be an ambassador. Really professional all the time. Step 4, be a content marketer. All right, I think this is one of the most important things that I can share. The problem for anybody is generating content, especially for manufacturers, because they're so busy and spread so thin that to think, what can I put onto Facebook today that is going to be good? If you can solve that pain point for manufacturers, you're going to be a star. Become the social media marketer for the manufacturer you're repping. Send them your stuff, or when you're putting out on your own Facebook channels, definitely make sure that you're tagging them so that they are aware of what you're doing out in the field. But you got to think, again, with the pain point issue, like a marketer. If you owned the company and you were sponsoring an athlete, what would you like to see? But I can tell you the marketing department for all of these manufacturers are struggling always for content. Make it as easy for them as possible. And I'm going to share here, you'll see the minimum expectation and then exceeding expectations. Minimum, submit your best photos every month. This is a minimum expectation that is rarely happening. This is an opportunity for you to shine. Build a strong social presence. Start building up a social media channel for your team and go about procuring a strong audience. And from there, definitely be working in your product placement. Use correct sponsor tags, especially on Instagram. Don't forget those hashtags, super important. Coordinate sponsor uniforms, said that in the last piece. Look united as a united front. Brand placement, this is certainly a minimum. If you've got the name of your canopy on the side, it's a small detail. But I think often, like I've seen this, where the guys will make sure that the PD logo or what have you showing up in the photograph and think that that's enough. That is the bare minimum of what we can be doing. Let's see how you can exceed expectation. Create videos and utilize Facebook Live. Let's say a word on Facebook Live. As if you set up a group page for your team, typically only 2 to 3%, maybe 4% of your followers will ever see what you actually post. Facebook really squashes down the algorithm for exposure because they want you to pay money to open up the algorithm for more eyeballs. You may or may not have noticed, at least certainly this is the case in the US, that there's lots of advertising on television for Facebook Live. Why is that? Because Facebook wants more people to use that platform on Facebook. They see great potential there. But a lot of people still are feeling a bit uncomfortable getting in front of the camera live. But when you go on Facebook Live, the algorithm opens up tremendously more. So you're getting tons more eyeballs. And I just watched the AGM live on Facebook Live while I was upstairs preparing for this. Awesome stuff. And there's a lot of eyeballs from around the world watching it. You must, let me just say, use Facebook Live. If you're coming for a landing, whip out your phone. You got your canopy here? I shouldn't say whip out England, should I? Sorry about that. Utilize this powerful medium. Here's a good one. Maintain a blog. Think about this. Just because you have a blog doesn't mean anyone's going to find it. Your goal is to drive traffic to learn more about the blog. So generate a blog. It might be something like Our Journey to Nationals powered by PD. And you push out your blog posts out onto social. Maybe if you want to get more exposure, boost that. Get more eyeballs for your folks and hashtag them in. Generate content for magazines. Magazines are looking for content continuously. You'll be amazed how easy, if it's well written, that they will publish your stuff. They do welcome that kind of stuff. That's a great opportunity as you send in photography, showcasing your logos, product placement, easy stuff. The problem, and why no one does it, is it takes time. Step 5, communicate. This is a real big issue for the manufacturers. I just never hear from you. I've heard a rule of thumb from several is check in at least twice per quarter. And create and submit team reports at the minimum. And that's not including necessarily the photography that you're sending a month. Submit photos and gear feedback until you are told to stop. Keep doing it. Don't have them looking for it. We'll take that a step more with a good quote. Keep collecting and cataloging them. That's if you've been told to stop. Keep doing it though. Keep collecting and cataloging them both for submission later. Our best teams send me pictures after every event or camp and gear feedback quarterly-ish. Usually the photos come as a link to some file sharing site like WeTransfer or Dropbox folder. Every photo does not have to be magazine cover worthy. Just send photos where smiles and product logos are visible. Let the graphic artist at the manufacturer worry about how to use them. Positive gear feedback should come in short bullet comments that can be easily quoted in print and online adverts. Needs improvement feedback should come in the form of an email with supporting photos or video. Okay? Further on, and that was the minimum expectation, by the way. Ask if there's anything you can do. Pitch ideas, don't wait to be asked. Basically want to be staying one step ahead as much as you can. Offer to donate your time as an LO, say sponsored, based on your notoriety if you're a strong LO. Offer your services without necessarily asking to be paid for that service every single time. And here's a big one. I don't know if I was stretching a bit much, but offer to pack for a day during a boogie. If you're looking to really stand out from everybody else, that will make you a hero very, very quickly because these manufacturers are having to pay for someone to pack these canopies that are coming off from being demoed. So make yourself valuable. Some people certainly will go, oh my God, but if you're looking for that point of difference than everybody else, that is a surefire way. Do the stuff that nobody wants to do, and you will get people's attention, for sure. Step 6, you're a professional, act like one. Okay, I know that our culture is fun, but there's a time and a place for skydiving culture at the bonfire. But be cognizant that certainly we're on Facebook and all those things a lot more. People are documenting much more. So put a lot of effort into your pitch as if it were for a major job. Prompt email response, sharing sponsored content on Facebook. Deliver what you promise. Don't be casual. Those are the minimum expectations of being a professional. Exceeding those, create a plaque. By the way, and this is not me looking for any kudos or anything, several years ago I owned a video company or concession. And out of the goodness of wanting to support the sport, I wrote a check for $5,000 to go towards training for one of our teams. I didn't even get told thank you by the end of the season. It's not that I am looking for things, but I feel like there's a certain expectation of professionalism when you are sponsoring somebody to, certainly to that degree, and it shouldn't even have to be that monetary value where you expect even that. But create a plaque thanking the sponsor. Write personal letters to the director of sponsorship and even the company owner. You want to be noticed? Think about this. Like, it's interesting that we're in such an electronic age that when you handwrite an actual personal letter, how much that stands out. Because nobody does it anymore. So take the time to write not a postcard, but an actual letter thanking your sponsor for what they've done for you. Send a coffee table book, photo book, showcasing the team using the products throughout the season. All these little things are easy to do, especially when you've got so much photography at your disposal. Step 7, show your worth. Benchmark what you said you do, what you did, and when you did it. Because these manufacturers are super busy, so they may not always be fully alert of everything that you've done. So you document what you're doing as well. Try to benchmark it in terms of showing your value based on what you said that you would do. Record any sales which occurred as a result of your efforts as well. Show the positive ROI that you created. Summarize what you did and how you will improve next year. Step 8, personality, we talked about that. I'm a huge Survivor fan, don't judge. But I have a friend that went on Survivor, and the people that select the personalities to go on the shows, it's all about either tension or drama, if you will, sex appeal, and humor. And I can tell you that that's not really any different to those that drive tremendous content. I'll call out my friend Regan. I mean, Regan's putting out a tremendous amount of content. And it's fun. It's light. It's good. It's introspective. It's looking at things differently. That is gold, creating that kind of content. Absolutely. And he's a good brand rep for who he's repping. Good, good stuff. But showcase that personality. This is one of the videos that we'll close with here that Macca did recently for Cyprus, and I'm starting to see other athletes do it. I'm sure they were asked by Cyprus, but there were different degrees of effort that went into these videos, and I implore you to go have a look at a few of them. I wish Macca was here, because I'd love to know how much time went into this. But if I'm Cyprus, I am thrilled with this result.
Hello friends, Macca here. You may have seen online already that Cyprus have got something new coming out. It's called the Wingsuit Cyprus, and I'm lucky enough to have got my hands on one already to have a look. So let's see what's in the box. Let's have a look. So first of all, the obvious, the unit itself. We'll have a look at that in a second. Obviously, pen, user guide, pull-ups, other bits and pieces that you'll get free in there with the box. A few accessories, These are a bit different. We'll have a look at those in a second. And then this is very different. This is the audible unit that comes with the Wingsuit Cypress, and I'll tell you what that's for in a second. First up, the actual unit itself. This is the Wingsuit Cypress, and to me, it looks very similar to any other Cypress unit. But to be sure, let's compare it to one I've already got. However, it is in my rig. Here is a standard Cypress 2 unit, and here is the brand new Wingsuit Cypress. They look exactly the same. Same cutters, same cables, same exterior casing. The only slight difference is the remote control units. As you can see, the Wingsuit Cypress comes with a little image of a wingsuit on it, and that's how you'll be able to tell on the flight line if somebody is using a Wingsuit Cypress. So they both look absolutely identical. So what's inside the new Wingsuit Cypress that makes it so worth having? Well, if you're a wingsuiter, this bit of kit is definitely something that you should be considering to have in your rig. Modern day wingsuits with the largest surface area mean that it's now possible, even unconscious, to pass through the activation height of an AAD, with the surface area of the wingsuit making the AAD think that you're already safely under a canopy. And that's not good. So how do you fix this problem? Well, the easiest thing to do in that situation would be to lower the activation speed of your AAD. However, if you've got a smaller canopy, and even some of the larger canopies, if you induce a big turn, it's then possible to get the speed up that it would then be over the activation speed of the AAD, and you might find that it fires when you obviously don't want it to fire. How have Cypress combated that? Well, what they've done is they've created this new Wingsuit Cypress. And how it works is that it actually has two sets of parameters built into it. It's constantly monitoring what you're doing. When you exit the aircraft, it keeps itself in the wingsuit profile, and it's looking and the activation speed is lower. Once you've deployed the parachute, it then changes its parameters and adjusts what it's doing, and it then gives you what is essentially a regular normal Cypress. You can change that. You can have either the Speed Cypress or the Expert Cypress, depending on whether you are a big swooper or not. But what it means is that it's monitoring everything, it then adjusts, and then it lets you know what it's done. And that's really, really important, because once it's changed its settings, you need to be able to know that you are now good to go and make those turns under your canopy. How does the Wingsuit Cypress communicate with you to let you know that it's adjusted its parameters? Well, with this. This is the new audible unit from Cypress, and it comes paired with your unit from the factory. It's about the size of most normal audible outies, so it'll sit and fit in most helmets that are on the market today. It's super simple to use. There are no buttons, you don't have to turn it on, just pop it in your helmet. It's always on, looking for your Cypress unit. Once you turn your Cypress unit on, it will engage and it's ready to let you know that it's working. When you are in freefall and you get to the point that you've deployed that parachute, this unit will give you an audible tone for 10 seconds. Now that's really important because that lets you know that you're now using the Cypress as an Expert or Speed Cypress and that you're safe to make those turns and land the parachute safely. The audible unit itself takes standard size, easy to get hold of button batteries, and the first replacement is already in the box ready to go. They're super easy to change over, and Cypress say the battery will last the average jumper a good few years. The unit itself will give you an audible tone to let you know when the battery needs changing over. Now, the first thing I thought when I saw this was, what happens if I lose it? Well, Cypress have got you covered there too. If you give them the serial number of your unit, they'll make a new matched audible and send it out to you. So, let's have a look at it in action. So, exited the aircraft, I've spread my wings, and now I'm flying. Incidentally, this is the Phoenix Fly Habit Carve, the absolute best all-round wingsuit for acro, back flying, and a bit of performance as well. Roll over onto my back, because why wouldn't you? Obviously geek the camera. Now flying home, back to the drop zone. And now I'm pitching. Time to deploy a parachute. So, that's the new Wingsuit Cypress from, well, Cypress. To find out more information, head over to their website, cypress.cc. By the time you watch this video, if you've made it as far as this, it should be available to order from your local dealer. This really is the perfect all-round AAD, especially for wingsuiters. It constantly monitors you through from exiting the aircraft to landing. It adjusts its parameters when it sees that you've opened up that parachute, and then it communicates by letting you know through the audible. It's absolutely perfect for wingsuiters, but it works just as well even if you're not wingsuiting. This AAD gets 2 Maca thumbs up.
Really, that level of detail, even on the intro, must have taken several hours to be able to produce. If you do any kind of editing, you know it's a very timely thing. That's the level of effort. If you want to really, A, work on your resume, certainly, but B, do all the things that are presented here, and I can assure you it's very easy to stand out in this industry because there's so much mediocrity. So be above average, stand out, and you'll get what you want, I'm quite confident. So that being said, I think I've got 0 time left. Thank you very much for your time.